Hi, I'm Mr. Davis, and I want to get into a lesson here about the history of astronomy. A lot of times people, you learn about stuff, the stars and the planets and black holes and solar system and things like that, and those are all really awesome. But think about it for a second. By now you know that we got a situation where we got a model of the universe, or at least in this case, the solar system. We got the sun, and then the Earth goes around the sun, and then the moon goes around the Earth, right? And you know that the planets go around the sun, like Mars, Jupiter, those guys all orbit around the sun, and the sun is the center of the solar system. And you learn that in school, probably when you were in second grade or something of that sort, and you go, la-di-da. But here's the thing. That hasn't always been known. The discovery that the Earth goes around the sun instead of everything going around the Earth, a lot of historians consider that the beginning of the modern era, the beginning of science. It was a revolutionary idea at the time. In fact, the term revolutionary comes from the fact that the Earth revolves around the sun. That idea, that discovery was a landmark in Western civilization, okay? And I think it's important to appreciate science isn't just a bunch of facts. It isn't just a bunch of how stuff works. There's a story behind it. It's a human endeavor that happens in a historical kind of context, all right? So this discovery that the Earth goes around the sun was huge. Huge. I can't exaggerate how huge it is. Some people consider it the beginning of the modern era. All right, coming from the Middle Ages and stuff. Okay, so let's go into this a little bit. In a little historical context, here's the thing about it is, we know the Earth goes around the sun. But think about it. You can't feel it. You can't feel like we're moving. If we were zinging around the sun, we're going really fast, thousands of miles an hour. And if the Earth is like spinning on its axis, here where we are in the Seattle area, it's going about 700 miles an hour. But you can't feel it. It looks like you wake up in the morning and the sun rises in the east and it sets in the west. It looks like the sun is going around us, that you watch the stars over the course of a day or the course of the year, everything seems to be circling around us. But it turns out that's not true. It turns out that Earth is spinning on its axis, so our viewpoint of things changes, so it looks like it's going around us, but really we're spinning on our axis. And it looks like the sun is going around us because it rises in the east and it sets in the west. But really, what's happening is the Earth, once a year, makes a trip around the sun. Okay, so this story of this discovery is the beginning. A lot of people consider it the beginning of modern science, and some consider it the beginning of the modern historical era. So let's talk about that a little bit. What we're going to get into here is the origin of astronomy. That's the beginning of the science of astronomy. And this gentleman here, his name is Galileo. We're going to get to Galileo in a couple of minutes, okay? But right now, I want to start off with early civilization. Ancient Greece was an amazing civilization. It was after Egypt and stuff. And I wish we could spend the time to learn more about ancient Greece. The art, the politics, before the United States of America, the only democracy that had existed on the planet was in ancient Athens. Democracy, that's a Greek word. So we owe a lot to ancient Greece. Now, they had these philosophers. And one of the great ones, and I don't want to spend too much time on them in general, but one of the great ones was a guy named Aristotle. If it's white, you got to write that down, okay? Aristotle, at least in my class, that's going to be a test question. And you can use your notes. So write it down now so you have to use it during the test, right? That's one way to give you incentive to write stuff down. Make sure you're paying attention, right? Okay, so anyway, very influential Aristotle. And Aristotle, he had an idea of the universe that he described in a book he wrote called Physics, right? The geocentric model. Geocentric. Write that down. vocabulary word. Geocentric means Earth. Geo is Earth. Center is centric. So that means that the Earth is the center of, well, in this case, the cosmos, right? And you have the moon going around it and Mercury going around them and all the planets and all the stars go around the Earth. Well, we now know that's not true. But for them, that's the way they thought it was. But why? Because it feels like we're in the middle. You look up at the stars, you can't feel yourself moving. Terra firma, I mean, this is the firmest thing you got, is the Earth not moving, right? And so this model of the geocentric model became the standard idea that educated and intellectual people understand that the Earth is the center of the cosmos and the sun goes around the Earth. Notice that the sun there, along with the different planets and stuff, okay? So geocentric. Everybody say geocentric. Say it at home. You're online. Geocentric. Vocabulary word. Test question. Okay? This was widely adopted through the Middle Ages. So as time went on, you had the Roman Empire after that, and then you had the Middle Ages and stuff, you know, with the knights and that kind of stuff. Anyway, everybody pretty much believed this is what was taught. Aristotle had this idea of the structure of the universe, and that's the way it is. And how do you know it's like that? Because Aristotle said so. And so they had this concept where authority is why you believe things, right? Just because that's what you were taught. That's what Aristotle said, so it must be true. Okay, and again, we're talking the Middle Ages way of thinking. Science came beyond that, okay? But if you look at this sort of graphic here, this is from the Middle Ages, where you have the Earth in the middle and Lunae, that's written in Latin, which means what? Moon, all right? And then what's that? Mercury, what's that? Venus, Solus. What do you think that is? Say it out loud. If you were in my classroom, I'd make you say it. Sun, that's right. Okay, and Mars, Jovis, Jupiter, Saturni, and then you have the stars. And out here you see these constellations going around here. These symbols here are for the various constellations, which you've heard of. These ideas still survive. You know, things like Capricorn and Aquarius and Taurus and Aries and Sagittarius and all those guys, right? The constellations, the patterns you see in the night sky. And then out here, Caelum Imperium Habitatium Diae. That means the imperial celestial home of God. Okay, so anyway, this was their model of the universe with the Earth in the middle. And you've heard of the seven heavens. That's what, you know, where that comes from. Okay, so this idea that the Earth is the center of the universe was widely adopted. Everybody knew it was true, even though it's not. But that's what people thought, right? Okay, now along comes a guy named Nicholas Copernicus. Okay, I'm going to cut in a transition here. Let's call this the end of this video. Remember, anything in white you need to have written down as it's going along. Pause the video and write it down if you need to. You know, if you see anything that's written in white, like a big text kind of thing, that's stuff that you can use in an open notes kind of test format. And I'll give you a hint. A lot of times that's going to be stuff that the questions that follow the videos are going to be based on too. It's a way to make sure you're engaged with the video, that you're following along, and you have a set of notes that you can use to study. Now, when we do tests in my normal classroom, you don't get to use the notes. You get to use these as your study guide. But since it's online, I'm going to let you use the notes when we have a test. So do it, copy it down, and then answer these questions that follow, and then do the second part of the video. I'm thinking we've got 3 parts to this particular lesson. Okay, see ya.